So thank you to everybody who has subbed and with all your comments and your thumbs up. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who, even if you guys don't get to watch all the videos because you don't have time, obviously because like a life gets in the way, I know a lot of you guys will come along just to click the thumbs up. So I do thank you all for that. And if you, of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. So on this video, I'm just going to give you guys a bit of a backstory about my channel and me, I suppose, as well. Obviously not too much detail, so all the haters out there, and I know there's a lot of you, no need to get your pen and paper out. Although there will be some things in here that I'm sure some of you guys will use on other people's videos when you talk about me in the comment section and all that kind of thing. But that is what it is. Some people are just natural born haters. So anyway, 17 months ago, I started this channel, and it was probably 3 or 4 months before I started my own channel. I was watching Travis Gotti, Hitman Boxing and Hatman Strikes Back. I didn't know anybody else outside there because I was unaware that there was this boxing forum, this boxing community, whatever it is that you want to talk about it. My whole experience with YouTube was going onto YouTube, watch some boxing matches here and there, and listen to music, some documentaries, that kind of thing. And my whole boxing thing was on Google. I would Google certain things to keep up to date with some boxing, that of course. So that was pretty much my thing back then. So of course, when I first started, when like these other channels, like, you know, I'd hear about the channels, I'm completely unaware of them. Even now, I'm still unaware of a lot of channels. I really am. So anyway, I started this channel 17 months ago, and my target 17 months ago was to hit 1,000 subs within the first 12 months. And I took advice as well from Hitman and Travis Gotti, which was pretty much be yourself. And we'll get into advice for new channels as well a little bit later in this video, so bear with me for that. If any of you guys are planning on starting your own channel, I'll just give you some tips that kind of work for me, and maybe it will or won't work for you. Obviously everything depends on it. So my aim was to get to 1,000 subs within 12 months, and I hit that target 4 months into it, maybe 5, and it felt like it went on forever. It really did. And I thought, well, if I don't get to 1,000 subs, then I'm just gonna quit doing it and I'm just gonna listen to YouTube videos. But within that time, I kind of like I got to know and got invited onto other people's channels as well, like Hitman, of course, Kiwi Box and Chatterboxing. So these guys gave me a bit of a bunk up, if you like. So eventually I hit the 1,000 subs, and from then things seemed to snowball. They really, really did. Now, I know that there's so many channels out there that are better than what I am, and they don't have as many subs or views or popularity, I suppose you could say, which you know, I don't really like using that word, but I do use it, and sometimes I use it against other channels, because there's plenty of channels out there who will just chastise me, and they've been doing it for like a long time. And the reason that they do it is because I don't want to use the word jealous, but for some of them it is. It really is, because they don't understand it. You know, they would accuse me of buying subs, all that kind of thing. But anybody who's been with me for any length of time, you will know none of that is true. Not one little bit of it. None of the things that they say. And they are just trying to create a beef. It's like the old school mentality. If you beef with a channel, you will then get views and subs and that kind of thing. But as Travis Gotti once said to me, if you preach hate, then that's all you will receive. And that was pretty much like the backbone of my channel, which is why you just don't see me beefing with channels. And any channels out there who are trying to beef with me, you're pretty much wasting your time. You really are. And although it is natural to me to beef, that's pretty much been my thing for a long, long time, especially working with some unions where everything is argumentative. Whereas I'm working on the opposite side of the fence for unions, where I'm batting against them. So arguing is always one of my things. So you have to be very, very good to beat me in an argument. You really would. But some people do it, and they do it just to try and get views. That's what they do it. So any of these people out there, you're just sad. So ignore them. But as I said, my aim for the first 12 months was 1,000 subs. And I did that. And by 12 months, I was on 7,500. So you guys who on New Year, which was like, it was a couple of days before New Year. I was on 12 months in and I was on 7,500. So you guys would have known that my new target was 15,000. I thought, right, okay, we'll up the ante and we'll try and get 15,000 by the end of 2018. And here we are, mid to late June, 15,000. So big up to all of you guys for that. And of course, I will do a competition poll after this video in a bit, where you guys will try and guess what my finishing numbers will be by the end of 2018, as in when I hit 16,000, 20,000, 50,000, whatever it may be. Okay, and those who get closest, I'll give out some prizes. Of course, if there's like a couple of hundred people who all get that kind of number or closest to it, then obviously not. I'll have to give you guys a shout out in videos, I suppose. But anyway, so I hit 15,000. Big up to all you guys, that is for sure. Now, as I said, my inspirations were Travis Gotti, Hitman Boxing, and Hatman Strikes Back. As I said, that's pretty much all I knew. And then after then, I started to collab with other channels, and I took advice from Hitman and Travis. So, but it wasn't just that. That wasn't the only reason why I started this channel. Some of you guys are already aware of this one, which is I started this channel because, as I said before, I was born in Newcastle, and for the first few years of my life, this is where I lived in the Northeast, and I'm back here now. But for a great period of time, I lived down south, hence the accent, which as a kid was a forced accent, because back then people didn't really know where Newcastle was, didn't know anything about it. So of course people would say I'm Scottish, okay? But because they didn't know what Geordie was, so I sounded to them like Scottish. That was pretty much it. So of course I would change my accent, much to the dismay of my father, who grew up in the Northeast and was very hardened. So of course, as a small kid, probably mid to late 80s, obviously we're moving down south, and I'm having to change my accent to fit in, because people kept calling me Scottish and whatever else. So I would even go home sometimes with it. All right, mate, how's it going, mate? All right, dad. And my dad, being very hard in the Northeast, for those of you who will remember the 80s, will know it's perfectly acceptable to beat the crap out of your kids, whether it's in the supermarket, whether it's at home, wherever it may be. It's perfectly acceptable. And this was one of the many reasons I used to get a bit of a beating from my dad, was because I changed my accent on purpose. He would see it as in, I wasn't proud to be a Northerner, anything like that. But either way, I'm back here now. But the reasons that I'm back here now is because I was wanting to come back, and I've been wanting to do it for a number of years, because this is my home. This is where I feel home. Home is where the heart is, of course. And I've been at a company for a number of years down there. I have my own mortgage. My little boy was 3 years old right when we moved to Newcastle. So you're talking, it's under 2 years ago now. So 18 months, 2 years ago now, because he's currently 5 years old now. And I thought, right, okay, it's a good time to move to Newcastle now before he starts school. So that's pretty much what I did. And right before we moved, now I'd already accepted redundancy. I could have stayed, but I wanted to move back to Newcastle. So I took the redundancy, and it was a crap load of money. It really, really was. So I took that money, and with my mortgage, I was halfway through my mortgage when I put my house up for sale. It quickly sold very, very quickly, and I doubled my money on the house. So I had enough money to buy a house outright in Newcastle, which is what I've done. So when I say I'm mortgage free, it's not that I'm really old and been working and paying off big lump sums of it. It's not that at all. All things just came together, and it worked out that way for me, luckily. But right before I moved back to Newcastle, so I'd already agreed to sell the house. I knew that pretty much the date that we were moving, or at least the month, although I didn't exactly know the date. I knew the month. At this time, like when you have children, so my oldest son, he lives with his mum. He's still down south. But my youngest son, as I said, who's 3 years old at the time, and when you've got like young kids, you have like I think they're called like health visitors or whatever. They come around to your house and kind of like see how the kid is. Are they developing correctly? Can they see? Can they speak? Are you beating the crap out of your kids? All that kind of thing. So the woman came around to our house once, and as I said, we'd already agreed to move, so we was already in the process of moving and whatever, and like house searching in Newcastle. And she said, "Do I have any concerns about my 3-year-old, like my youngest?" And I said, "Well, my oldest son at this point was running pretty good. and he could jump. So, you know, he could run across the living room, jump up on the sofa and jump down again. He would do all that kind of rough and tumble kind of stuff. Whereas my 3-year-old, obviously with like a different mums, he wasn't doing that. You know, he can run, but he can't jump, as in he can just, it's hard to describe that. When he jumps, he will kind of like, only one foot will come off the ground, that kind of thing. And that's like his version of jumping. And it's still that way now. And there's a reason for it. And so he'd go and have tests, all that kind of thing. But we never got the results because we was in the midst of moving, and with a mix-up at the hospitals and whatever, they just lost the damn results. But they kind of knew by his blood count for something that something wasn't quite right. So we moved to Newcastle, then we had to go through the whole test again with my little boy, and it turned out that he had Duchenne, which is the most severe form of muscle wasting disease. It's genetic from the mother's side, so it's only boys that are really affected by it, and they always get it from their mothers, like that, okay? And it goes on through the family gene throughout history, but there was nobody in my wife's family that suffered with it because they were all born as girls, like that, because as I said, it's only passed from mother to son. So of course they're all being born as daughters, right? So obviously with my boy, like my wife took it terrible, obviously, because she would blame herself, all that kind of thing. And for those who don't know what Duchenne is, as I said, it's the most severe form of muscle wasting disease that there is. There's no cure for it. There's nothing for it. And by the time they're like a teenager, they could be in a wheelchair. And I think the oldest person is probably about 40 years old before they've died. So, of course, it's a very, very terrible news. The only kind of shining light about this, well, I say shining light, I can't think of any other word, was that we was already moved to Newcastle. And in Newcastle is the centre of research in the UK for Duchenne. Now, if you guys watch the very end of any of my videos, you will see the Duchenne thing. That's why it's there. And of course, in my description on all my videos, you'll see a link with the muscular dystrophy website. And that's pretty much to give you information about it, because when my little boy was diagnosed with it, didn't know what the hell it was. I'd never heard of this thing before, okay? So that's there. So if anybody wants to go have a little look on that, please do so. And again, people have accused me of this website is fake. I own this website, I created it. I wish I was that bloody good at a website. If I was, my current website, www.officialsportandicons.com, would be a hell of a lot better than what it is, right? But no, the Duchenne website that I put on my description box for every video is, well, they are unaware that I'll do it, is in truth. There is an option in there to donate to them and things like that to hopefully find a cure, hopefully. But let's see. And of course, my little boy, he's going to be going through steroids real soon when he's 6 years old. So not long now, and he can start doing steroids, which may help him start jumping around and be a bit more flexible now then. But ultimately, he will end up in a wheelchair at some point. But hopefully, they'll find some kind of cure, and he will be going through some trials soon. So touch wood, all that kind of thing. That he's going to be successful with that. So if you get a chance, click on that link in any of the description boxes of my videos, and you can have like a read up about it. Okay, so. Anyway, so that was like a little bit of luck, and that was one of my inspirations as well for starting this channel, because I'd never heard of Duchenne, and nobody else that I knew had either. But it's, I forget what it is. I think it's like 100 children in the UK or the world, I forget what it is, are diagnosed with this. So it's a very, very rare thing, but it's the most severe one. So that was an inspiration for me, that I thought that if I could gain some kind of popularity, I could then spread the word of Duchenne. Much like, I suppose maybe some channels do. I don't know if they do it, to be honest. But if you had somebody in your family affected with, say, cancer or leukemia or something like that, maybe, I know you may put like a link for leukemia in your description box, something like that. That's why I do it with Duchenne. So that's it. And as I said, they are unaware that I've even done this, because they don't know me, I don't know them. Outside of my little boy's doctors, that's it. So, yeah, and again, people say, well, if you didn't buy your subs, then how did you get so popular? Now, my popularity isn't as popular as many channels. I'm at a a speck of sand, a grain of sand even, compared to many channels, right? But as far as boxing news goes, boxing news, which is the way that I deliver the boxing news and others do it, in the UK, I think it's only Hatman Strikes Back that is a bigger channel than what I am in comparison to that. If there are some other ones, I'm unaware of them. But of course, I'm not talking IFL. As I said, it's totally different. You know, they do interviews. I do boxing news and some interviews. But again, one of the reasons for it was because not long after I started, just after I hit about 1,000 subs, Dillian Whyte was the one giving me a shout out. He was the one who was backing me. He was the one who would talk to me, and you know, he's a great guy. So I'm forever ever grateful to Dillian Whyte. And since Dillian Whyte, there's been other ones have now come along. So Dillian pretty much opened the door for the world of professional athletes, boxers. And since then, other ones have come in. And, you know, they give me shout outs. We'll do interviews with them. Again, I'm not as prolific on the interviews as I should be, and I do need to make more of an effort of that. I'm fully aware of it. So anyway, big thanks to Dillian Whyte and many other boxers. And of course, I'm Eddie Hearn. He knows why. So big up to all those guys. So this kind of thing helps. Okay, so for me, the advice for any kind of boxing channel is try and, you know, if a boxer reaches out to you, accept it. Or try and reach out to a boxer, try and get a boxer onto your channel, because it will just start the floodgates. That's pretty much what happens. So as of right now, I've probably got about, between 20 and 30 contacts, as in directly to people in the sport. So this kind of thing helps. The other thing that works for me is the amount of uploads that you do. Some people will do one every couple of days. That's not enough. If you want to grow your channel, that's not enough. People want regularity. That's what they want. So for me, I'll do like 2, 3, 4 videos a day, sometimes more than that. Sometimes I may not do one today, but I'll do like 3 or 4 tomorrow. It's like that kind of thing. So there's always something coming out. There's always something in the boxing news. And when there's nothing in the boxing news that's really worth talking about, is you just kind of, I don't know, come up with something else. Like I have. I did the boxing prospects for British. So the British boxing prospects. So as of course, I'm biased with boxers, with Britain. As I said, I've always been that way and will always be that way. So that's one of them. And again, I think interaction with other channels helps. So of course, when you get shout outs, when you do hangouts with them and you give shout outs to them. Again, the other thing that works for me as well is don't engage with online beefing. I don't engage with it. I mean, somebody would really have to press my button for me to do it. And believe me, plenty of channels have tried and failed. They really have. And they don't like it when I do respond, because when I do respond, I kind of don't have a filter. As I said before, because I've been working against unions for like so long, arguments, and I know how to press certain buttons with certain people. So it's not always a good idea to do it, but people will try and they will continue to try. That's what it is. And you see, I'll call them, if they have less subs or less views, whatever, than what I have, but yet they've been going longer than me, I will call them a small channel. And that's me being disrespectful to them specifically. It's not anybody else. As I said, there's so many channels out there who are so much better than what I am, but they don't maybe have the luck, I suppose. I don't know. But I'll call them a small channel. And the reason I do that is because a channel once called me small when I tried to reach out to them for like a little bit of help. And they're almost like, well, come back when you're something. And that was almost like a bit of a kick in the nuts. So now I kind of use that. So when like other channels want to chastise me, I'll be like, well, who are you? You know, you're just a small channel. And that's me being disrespectful to them, not to anybody else. And I know other people have got offended by this in the past, but that's the reason why I do it. So online hate, online beef is really a no-go for me. I think that's probably one of the reasons why, because I don't know, people don't really like it. But again, advice for some people, you know, just be yourself, you know, see what works and always tell the truth, even if people don't like it. And, you know, I have plenty of haters. I have so many of them, but people will be haters. Unfortunately, within boxing fans are the best in the world, but they're also the worst in the world. Everybody knows better. So you're always going to clash and people will hate you because you have a different opinion. That's just how it is. And especially when you're a channel, because other channels will hate you as well, because, you know, I will pick apart the record of, say, Wilder, for example. You know, I'm very known for doing that, and yet they get offended by me doing that, but it's perfectly okay for them to do it to Joshua. Again, you see, people, they have this misconception that if Joshua was to lose against Wilder, I'll be mortified, I'll close my channel down, and I'll be distraught. But, you know, a lot of people know that Dillian Whyte is my favourite fighter, okay? So I'm not emotionally connected to Joshua. I've never spoken to Joshua. I've never sat down with him or anything like that, okay? So I don't know him, so therefore I don't owe him anything, as in emotionally. So again, people who seem to think that I'm going to be so butthurt if Joshua loses, I will be upset. I'm not going to say I won't be. Of course I will be. He's a British fighter. He's done a lot for British boxing, and I'm a massive, massive fan. And I never ever want to see him lose. I don't, honestly, I don't, especially against Wilder. But if Dillian Whyte was to get in there with Joshua, I'm going to be slightly leaning towards Dillian Whyte to win that one. But again, that's just my own biased view, and I am biased, as I said. You know, this a lot of this comes from being back as a child watching football, especially in like the mid-80s, England against Argentina, against Germany, all these kind of things. So yeah, I'm not too sure even where I've gone on this channel. I've kind of forgotten what I've said and what I haven't said. So yeah, I think I'm probably just going to leave it at that. So big up to all you guys who have been supporting me for so long. You guys have made me popular. I'm popular amongst the haters as well, and a lot of it is down to you guys, because you know, I have seen on other people's videos, you guys will go to other people's channels saying that, you know, Sporting Icon said this and Sporting Icons is right, you are wrong. And this creates a bit of a beef, and then before you know it, loads of people who didn't know who I was then know who I am. So it's almost at the point now where I can go into an IFL video, leave a comment, go back a couple of hours later, and I can see like 50 comments under mine, because a lot of people who are blocked for being absolute dicks have you know, that's their way of reaching me, because I can't do it on my channel. So yeah, anyway, that is what it is. So big up to all of you guys. As I said, I'll do that competition, I'll do that poll, and we'll kind of see where it is that I get to by the end of 2018. Let's see, kind of see what numbers we're on. Again, actually quickly covering a bit of advice for some channels as well. Know your guidelines with the community guidelines, copyright guidelines. Know them off by heart, okay? Because that way, because you are always going to have people who are haters and who will try and report your videos, all that kind of thing. But if you stick within your guidelines, it's these people who will end up getting their own accounts closed, because they're just wasting YouTube's time. Okay, so know your guidelines and stick with them. And you know, that's what I do. I don't do copyrights. I don't cross the community guidelines. I may go borderline at times, but I know I'm always within. So anyway, thank you very much to everybody. Big up to all of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. I remember a lot of you, of course, since the early days, and I'm sure in a couple of years' time, I'm going to be remembering a lot of you guys who are here now. So click that thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video. Big up.